Go straight into it. Our topic today is branded residences, and I'll just reel off some facts. So, the branded residence sector within the global real estate has grown by 176% over the last decade. Branded residences market is expected to exceed 1,500 projects globally by 2030. Savills have just they've done a report and has stated that there is a 30 to 33% premium for branded residences globally over traditional new development. Residency isn't just a buzzword in New York, London, and Dubai. EMEA accounts for a circa 30% of global branded residences supply chain. Top tier lifestyle brands have set their sights now in Europe with a big push in southern Spain, Algarve, Balearics, and Comporta. Jack, what do you think of the use of the term branded residences?
I think you're setting me loose here, but I've held this view for a long time. I'm not that comfortable with it being used so freely. For me, I think really high quality branded residences are normally attached to hotels. And it's a bit of an older fashioned perspective, but I've used and stayed in some, and I just think they really understand the consumer, and that's the problem I have with some of the brands that have entered the market. They don't have an intrinsic understanding. They understand their consumers for their products. So if you take like a car brand, they clearly know what they're doing. Lamborghini, Aston Martin, they all know what their consumers want. They wouldn't have the success they had for cars. But there's a massive difference between the delivery of cars and the purchaser experience there, and then into residential and actually running those buildings. So, I always say branded residences are great with a real air of caution. What is the brand? Do they have credibility? Are they going to actually be able to deliver what they say they can deliver? And I think we've seen it firsthand. So in Marbella, an area we do a lot of work in, there are several branded residences. And my personal opinion is none of them are particularly great, and I probably wouldn't direct a buyer to buy one. I think the Fendi Casa scheme is probably the best of a bad bunch, but I still don't think it's one of the best projects that you can buy in Spain. I think there's much better boutique developments or larger developments that are, much more attractive in terms of the experience and the services you get when you get there. So, and I think, people sort of get misguided really. They think, you see the flashy brand, see Dolce & Gabbana, you see Lamborghini residences in Marbella and think, well, that must be the right project for me. That must be a great fit for me. But actually, I think in reality, there's a lot better projects out there. So it's a mixed one for me because I love them. I think I think some of the brands that we're going to go on to talk about, it's unbelievable what they've created and done. It's the best in the world for some of them.
Okay.
But actually, when
Well,
you pin it down to other projects, it's a mixed bag, isn't it?
yeah. Well, let's just go on to that. What, in your opinion, are your top five branded residences and why?
Oh, this is a tough one. I found this hard because there's a lot of brands that I really admire and like, but I rank them from my experience, and that's using the hotels or that's staying in specific residences or seeing them firsthand. So my first one is Mandarin Oriental,
Yeah,
and
classic.
especially across Asia. Like, you know, when I was at CBRE, I stayed in Mandarin Oriental hotels a lot in Asia, and their understanding of consumers is second to none. It's quite an old school brand, quite a traditional brand, but I think what we've seen they're doing in Comporta, what we know they're doing in places like Costa Navarino and other areas of Europe. I just think they've got all the ingredients to be hugely successful in branding residences, and that is a real legacy brand that I think has a huge amount of credibility. Number two, which is a bit of an unheard of one, and we have mentioned it before, is Discovery Land, and it's
Yeah.
not very well known in Europe. But branding residences are as popular in the rest of the world as they are in America. And Discovery Land have done a great job of creating a brand from nothing, specifically focused on being a luxury lifestyle experience development and developer. I rank them really highly. I can't wait to see what they can do in the rest of Europe. I think they've got an amazing opportunity. Third is Four Seasons, very similar to Mandarin Oriental.
Yeah.
I
This is my
just love,
favorite. Yeah.
I just love that brand.
Yeah.
I think they understand, they get it, don't they?
Yeah.
I
Everything
love that.
works.
Um, Number 4 is Aman Group, and they really appeal to 0.1%, in my opinion. They really appeal to that top end. But I love the look, the feel, the design, everything they create is so focused on that end consumer and them sort of in the experience that they want to provide and offer their residents. So for me, I think they're definitely in my top 5. And the last one, which is a bit of an outsider, really, is Bulgari. Again, it appeals to that 0.1%, but you know, we've got clients that have got homes within Bulgari residences, and they all, speak extremely highly about their experiences there. So for me, they're the top 5: Mandarin Oriental, Discovery Land, Four Seasons, Aman Group, and Bulgari.
That's a good list, isn't it? It's a good list. Right. Any brands that are not doing branded residences which you think should be?
I love this question. I think in the UK, I think there's a massive opportunity in the UK for branded residences, but I don't think it comes from the types of providers that I've just listed off.
No.
Um, I think there are some emerging sort of lifestyle wellness brands. We know one company in particular, a company called Pillar Wellbeing, relatively well, and their view on the end users use of that home is a different perspective, and I think people in the UK are craving now a better lifestyle residence. So I can't put my finger on specific brands, but there are a number of brands that should enter the UK market. They're already here in the hospitality sector.
The Pillar Wellbeing has the unbelievable spa. Is that the one that
The
we
guys
went?
in the old War Office, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What they've created there is amazing. That's a
Yeah.
great example of a branded residency. Actually, that's gone under the radar. That scheme.
So, Jack, can you just give us a little bit more detail on the Pillar Wellbeing, specifically the Old War Office project?
So the old War Office is famously Churchill's, quite literally, old War Office during the war. It's a nice, beautiful building in Whitehall. It's a Raffles hotel and a Raffles branded residencies. And in there, a friend of ours has got the Pillar Wellbeing amenities and private members club and gym. He also has a restaurant. And their view on how well-being interacts with residences is unbelievable. I mean, it's basically integrated into your lifestyle there, and I just think that building has gone under the radar. It's an amazing building, and I do think if you're buying in London, that's got to be in your top 5 choices of buildings that you're going to buy in, because it's such a beautiful building and it has got all that legacy and history we spoke about, and it has got a brand, extremely well-respected brand attached to it.
Okay. Anything else? Any other options?
Well, I've sold in the Four Seasons on Grosvenor Square and Number 1 Grosvenor Square over the years. I love those buildings. I think Loader is a bit of a outsider in terms of a branded residence because it hasn't got the name, but they have provided an unbelievable experience for the end users and the buyers within that project. I love both buildings the same. I think they're fantastic, and the location is obviously unbelievable in Mayfair. And then obviously it was announced this week that Caldwell's One Mayfair has partnered up with Dorchester, and I think that's really exciting for the future.
What do you think about boutique branded residences?
I think it's an amazing opportunity. I think boutique developers or hospitality companies have got an opportunity to create an amazing brand. I think a lot of them get a bit above themselves or ahead of themselves too early. So, we've seen it before where someone with a fantastic couple of restaurants suddenly sees an opportunity to be a developer. It's not quite as simple as that, because it's very hard to carry over your restaurant or hospitality experience into a residential building. But I do think boutique branded residences will emerge. I think some really good ones will emerge too. My only area of concern is sort of future legacy value of those projects and properties. So I think the brands we've mentioned clearly have a substantial premium. 30% is nothing to sort of, is a big number. But can a boutique brand create the same value proposition? Possibly not. But I do think they've got an opportunity, because people are going to crave and want to be aligned with some of those boutique brands.
In summary, Jack, give us a quick overview on branded residences.
All depends on the brand.
Yeah.
It's all down to the brand. I think, you've got to think long and hard before buying in a branded residency. Can that brand deliver the same lifestyle experiences they can in their hotels? Probably is the answer to that. Can a clothing brand or a car brand deliver the same hotel lifestyle experience you expect? It's a difficult question to answer. And I think, can those premiums that people are paying for those car or designer, clothing designer brands be sustained? It's difficult to predict, but probably not in comparison to the more legacy brands that we've spoken about before. I think there is room for new entrants, but I think it really does come down to that experience. And I think, the longer branded residences become more and more popular, the more defined who the actual serious operators are and who those that aren't will be clearer. So it's a mixed message. We really like the idea. We like what they're doing. We like the look and feel that they're creating in the market. It's definitely a desirable product. It's something to be excited about, but we've got to enter that market with some caution.
Brilliant. Okay. All right. Well, I think that wraps up episode 3 on branded residences. Next week we'll have our first guest on the podcast, and that's going to be fun. And we look forward to seeing you all then.